Good morning, everyone. I'm very pleased to be there for the second round after the French session now to do in English to introduce Osmoze. Osmoze is one on fintech selected by the CACEIS Store program or concept. I will try to explain what is the CACEIS Connect Store. So the CACEIS Connect Store, I would say, is a module or functionality included in the OLIS portal, in our OLIS portal, to allow our clients to have a pre-select fintech by ourselves to cover some new services or additional services of CACEIS. The access is by the platform OLIS. And we select 4 fintech for the time being around, I would say, 3 main topics. The first one is the cross-border distribution. The second one is the SGA reporting. And the last one is the data analytics program. How I can say, the roadmap of the Connect Store, so we deployed the functionality end of last year now, or beginning of this year, with 4 fintech included in the program. So today I am very pleased to propose, I would say, the introduction of Osmoze, and the program will be evaluated during the coming years, I would say, to integrate more and more fintech, depending the activity or the selection we will do on the future. So I'm very happy to let the floor to Kim from Osmoze to present the company.
Thank you, Benoit, for your introduction, and thanks again to our listeners for your availability. At Osmoze, we are very excited about our partnership, and as Head of Product, I'm proud to present to you our solution today and how it's going to add value-added services to the front office. So before doing so, I'd like to kick off with a brief overview of the current landscape and the main pain points that are faced by portfolio managers today. So to sum up the current landscape, I'd say that it's characterized by 2 main challenges. Firstly, the difficulty to access critical data, and secondly, the inefficiency to drive actionable results. We at Osmoze believe that the leaders of tomorrow are the portfolio managers that are going to embrace the technology to enhance the investment team's precision, the analysis, and their data consumption. So let's go into a bit more detail. So we've pinpointed 5 main pain points faced by portfolio managers. Firstly, data, which is often obsolete, unharmonized, and not reliable, which leads to lack of confidence and transparency. So portfolio managers today do not have a golden snapshot, and they often have to deal with duplicate data sets, and they need to recreate their own position by moving through various channels. They also do not have an intraday eyeball position, but they're facing a position which dates at D-2 or D-1 at best. Secondly, missed investment opportunities. So investment managers spend a lot of time doing manual tasks, and this means that they spend very limited time focusing on their core business, which is generating alpha. Thirdly, missed business opportunities. So we've seen that there's a real lack of agility to respond to tender offers coming from insurance. We have prospects which report a 1-month delay to respond to a single tender offer coming from an insurer. The 4th point is operational inefficiency. So there's a real lack of automation to get data, perform calculations, and render results. Often, portfolio managers, they need to make a judgment call, and they decide to calculate less indicators on a reduced scope or at a lower frequency. And the last point is a rigid interface. Portfolio managers do not have one centralized interface with all their data at their fingertips in order to perform real hands-on financial engineering. Therefore, there's often not a real thorough understanding of the underlying risks to make knowledgeable decisions. So before going on to how Osmoze responds to these fundamental issues, I'm going to touch some words on what Osmoze really is. So Osmoze is a highly customizable front office cockpit which is made for efficient investment making. The technology is made to elevate decisions. So portfolio managers are able to enrich the solution with their own business expertise, such as creating personalized indicators on the fly. Portfolio managers can then act directly on their portfolio, such as performing advanced simulations, and then they can move on to taking action, such as trade arbitrages, without any delay. We cover multiple asset classes, and our solution is modular. So we use what exists to the greatest and most desirable extent possible asked by our customers, and we really focus on bridging the competency gaps of the existing technologies and giving ownership back to the front office. And our solution is tailor-made. So our customers are conviction-based investors. Therefore, they need a technology that is flexible enough, which allows them to integrate their business expertise into the technology in order to set themselves apart from their peers in order to generate alpha. Now I'm going to go on to our value proposition. So Osmoze provides an accurate, real-time portfolio snapshot in order to give back confidence in the data for assertive decision making. Secondly, we give data ownership to the front office. So we make sure that the data and the view of the portfolio really reflects the portfolio manager's convictions. Let me give you some examples. The front office is able to override, for example, a country classification on a given security if they believe that the risk comes from elsewhere. On price data, if they receive price data and a price that they judge is illiquid, they're able to change the source from the provider that they're getting the price data from to, for example, an in-house pricer. Or on a bond, if the portfolio manager judges that he will call the bond before the real maturity date, he can set a maturity, a target maturity on the bond. All the cash flows will be calculated with this target maturity, and therefore all the risk indicators will actually reflect his risk horizon. Thirdly, our technology is flexible. So we believe that the interface needs to adapt itself to the user and not vice versa. Therefore, we've decided to provide 3 major interfaces. Firstly, Excel. Why? Because portfolio managers absolutely love Excel. Therefore, they can continue using the functions that they master, and there's limited change management, and they can also add additional complementary calculations. And therefore, there's less operational risk because they don't need to integrate data from external sources. So now they really have the best of both worlds, the flexibility of Excel and the robustness of a server solution, given that all the calculations are performed on the server side. Our second interface is a web interface. Why? Because the web is very rich for client presentations. It can be accessed anytime, anywhere. And thirdly, an API to send the results and the indicators to other systems in the ecosystem. And the last point is that we are agile. So a portfolio manager can instantaneously change his analysis when the economic, political, and financial environment changes by performing, for example, advanced simulations. Portfolio managers can also integrate personalized indicators on the fly, therefore adapt their analysis and the investment strategy as they go along. Now I'm just going to touch a few words on our technology. So this slide you really need to read from the bottom to the top, because they present the different layers of our technology. Firstly, the connection layer. So Osmoze is completely open, and we can connect to several different data sources. For example, a custodian, a data provider, a PMS, or other internal systems, including in real time. Then we have the aggregation layer. So the aggregation layer allows our users to integrate their business intelligence. So it's in this layer that they can, for example, specify if they want to prioritize certain sources given their business context. They can also integrate the front office data policy, and they can cherry pick the data to make sure that they have either the best quality or the most recent data. In this layer, they're also able to integrate warning signals on the data quality, and also any messages that they'd like to send to the end user. And then the next layer is a computation layer. So in this layer, we have the different modules that can be combined together in order to respond to the specific business case of the front office, in order to really just breach the competency gaps of the existing systems. And then we have the UX layer, where, as I said before, we have the three interfaces: Excel, web, and API. So with no further ado, I'm going to hand over to CEO and founder of Osmoze, Josie Chilan, for a live demo.
Everyone, so I'm José Filon, I'm the CEO of Osmoze, and I'll show you a small demo of a solution now. I was just saying that we have an Excel add-in, and the Excel add-in gets a connection to the server. And when you're connected, you get access to all the information that have been implemented in the platform. So first, I will just show. We just connect to the server. So we'll take our server. We'll type a username, password, and then I will have access to all the functionalities of Osmoze. So first, what we need to know is that we have an example of spreadsheet. This spreadsheet is just a spreadsheet that comes from the user. We just ask him to provide us a mock-up, and then we can describe the spreadsheet and generate the spreadsheet as an application that will be just available for him for his daily activities. What is important is that when you have this kind of spreadsheet, the user will be able to customize the spreadsheet to exactly fit the vision he wants to have of his investment. So he will be able to add some of information. So in this example, we just display a portfolio that contains a certain number of securities. We have different information that have been, like Kim said, aggregated from several sources in the company. So we display the security name, the ISIN, the seniority, the country, the industry sector. We also provide information about the valuation of each line. We have the price, we have the forex exchange. The price, if I'm real time, if I have a real time source, may come from real time, so I can have an exact vision of my portfolio at any time. And I can also integrate intraday trades to have the exact position of my portfolio when I'm watching it. What is important is that we can then go to this slide to display some analytics. So here we use our custom prices to compute some yield, some spread, some Z spread of a portfolio according to a state curve or according to a swap curve. And what is interesting is that we have an audit trade available. The audit trade is just activated by just clicking on this button. And when I'm going on a cell, I can just display in a second the exact audit trade of the computation that has been performed, which can contain the specification of the computation. For example, if we have a yield to maturity of a bond, and we can display when it was computed, what price was used, and what are the cash flows that are included in this yield. If I go in a spread, I can see against which yield curve the spread have been computed, and when, at what date, and what was the yield of the rate curve for the same maturity. So this is just here to give confidence to the end user, to the portfolio managers on the data he's using to perform his decision. And this can be highly customizable. In fact, we can define with the portfolio manager the exact information we want to see in this audit trail so that he can be really confident in what he's using. And we can also display where the data comes from, how it has been computed, and which data have been selected to provide the end result that he sees in his dashboard. The solution is also customizable because when I display those information, I have a lot of information available according to the sources I have been connected to, and I can just display here the fields we have displayed, but I have many other information I can add to my view. For example, I just want to add the nature of each issuer, and I just drag and drop this nature here in my list, and I just click on OK, and I have the field that comes to my spreadsheet. So I can really add, remove, or reorder the fields, the columns, to exactly have the vision I want to have of my portfolio investment. So this comes also with the ability, because we are using Excel, to display some charts. And just to show you, I use another feature of a platform that is a panel that gives additional information, and I can also use this panel to enter inputs. So for example, I will just select the same portfolio, and when I do this, it just gets computed, and I have graphs, a chart of the different investment of my portfolio according to several axes, from the asset class, from the currency, the sector, the country, the rating. And in this chart, I have the exposure on the iOS side, and down I've just displayed the P&L on the same axis, year-to-date P&L, just to display that we can just compare the view of the exposure on the P&L of the portfolio. We just next switch to a sample of simulation. So I'll just go to a specific slide to simulate an order. So I click on Add an Order. So I will just select security. I will take a security, a bond, for example, from AXA. We just select one bond from my investment universe. When I select the bond, I can see the information of this bond appearing. I will just say it's a buy order, and I will just put a number of securities I want to buy. I can also compute some analytics at the time I'm just booking the order, to just store those information that may be useful for some compliance requirements. And when I have done this, I can just save my order in my portfolio. And the order is just simulated. And then I can go at any time, refresh the view of my portfolio, and I can see just in a few seconds the impact of this order on my investment position. And I can also have the impact on all the views, the charts, and the analytics that have been performed on my portfolio. So it will take a few seconds to appear. Here it comes, and I see that we have just decided to put in another color all the lines of my investments that have been impacted by simulation. So this is a view of my portfolio in weighted average, but I can also display my portfolio in the FIFO mode if it's the gap of the country I want to see the investment requires this kind of view, or I can also do it in LIFO if this is an expectation. So as we see, we can just have a customized view of the portfolio at any time. It can be real time, and I can just add a simulation on. I can display also, we can add stress tests on the portfolio and see the exact impact of all this on my investment at any time. But then we just show something different. We just show how we can build a customized report in a few minutes using Osmoze. So I'll just go from scratch, from a blank spreadsheet. And then I will just display my side panel, and I will switch to the design mode. Design mode gives me the ability to perform, to build my own spreadsheet in a few seconds. So when I'm in design mode, I have a few favorite functions available. Those are the functions that are provided by the server. And I also have a search engine for the function, but we just take the first one here that will generate a portfolio view. When I select my view, it just provides me what we call templates. Templates are predefined representation of the results of my function. So it will just give a view of my portfolio. Those templates I just can drag and drop it in my Excel spreadsheet. And when I drag and drop it, I have the parameters of this function that are made available to me. So I have two required parameters, the portfolio code I want to see, and the position, the holding mode I want to use. And I just click on apply. And the computation is also performed on the server, and I just can display in a few seconds a view of my portfolio according to this template. What is interesting is that because I'm in Excel, I can really have hands-on the data to perform what I want to do with it. So I'll just use the features of Excel to just produce a pivot table in a few seconds. So I'll just take my data, I'll just say, okay, I want to put this pivot table here. I'll just click OK. And I just can select, for example, to see my portfolio by sector and to have the valuation of my portfolio by sector, and it's performed in a few seconds. I can also, because I'm in Excel, use some advanced feature. So when I display a chart, I will select, for example, a pie, a 3D pie, and I'll just click OK, and I can just reframe this pie and put it just down to my portfolio. So this is the first feature, to create my own view of my portfolio in a few seconds. When it's coming interesting is that I can customize this view quite easily. So I will use the column editor we've already seen. I will, for example, add another information, which is the rating, the CQS rating of my portfolio. I will just add it to my view. I will just rename it CQS rating, and I'll click on OK. So this information, when it's available, mostly from bonds, come to my in the view of my report, and I'll then perform something more interesting. I will perform a personal classification using this data. So I will just type an Excel formula. For example, I will say if my rating is below 3, I want it to be invest grade. Else, I want it to be high yield. Oh, sorry, high yield. Okay, this is my formula. So I'll just click on OK. I name it my risk level, and I click on OK. And this information does get available. So now what I can perform is that I can reuse my pivot table using this personal classification I've just created now. So I will remove the sector and we'll say, for example, I want to use my risk as an axis, and I have an immediate view of my portfolio according to this axis. Then we can, because we are in Osmoze, we can just change the portfolio. If I want to see the same information on another portfolio, I will just select one other portfolio. I will just apply the parameters, and then it will load my other portfolio, and you will see that we'll update the data in a few seconds just to have a specific view of my portfolios at any time. And this is a spreadsheet I can save. I can open any day to have an updated view of my portfolio, and I can use it to automate some activities I need to do every day. So here is a small presentation of the features of a platform. So now we're open to any questions that you have. So the first question is, what is the difference between Osmoze and a PMS? That is a good question. First, we are not a PMS. We need to say that first. So PMS usually want to handle 3 parts of the asset management, which is back office, middle office, and front office. here at Osmoze, we are focused on front office because we believe that it's very hard to have a same tool that is very effective in both three parts of the activities. So we are just focused on front office. We don't do back office. We don't do middle office. But most important, we think that the front office is what makes the difference for asset managers because that's where comes from the competitiveness of the asset manager. So it needs to have tools that are really the best tools to fit its expertise in order to provide the best decision and to produce more alphas in competitors. So that's why we are really focused on front office. And what we think is that front office has a few requirements that are difficult to add to a PMS. First, the front office need data that are really owned by the front office because they often have to create a view that is the exact fit of their convictions in their tools. So that's why we need flexibility, we need agility, and we need to be able to customize the tool according to the specific kind of investment we're making. Second, we think that the front office need also to be able to override the data that they have that comes from the systems, from the regulatory or referential system typically, so that they can really have a view that reflects what they think is best. Like Kim said before, for example, if we have a bond, we think it will be called soon. We need to have this in mind so that we can just see the cash flow, take into account the cash flow that will be really generated on that what is defined by the term sheet, original term sheet of the security. So the main difference is that we are focused on front office. We think we will provide a specific view for the front office, and last but not least, we'll be able to perform all the operation, all the data that the portfolio manager requires, needs to daily activity in the same tool, and it's often very difficult to perform in a PMS because the front office may need to add some data at any time, and it's not very easy to add some data in a PMS because it's a full project. So just next question. How do you guarantee the quality of the data? Okay, that's a good one. So data, we think, is key for portfolio managers because I said before, they are taking some decision with the data, and if they are not confident in the data, they will not make the best decision. So this is very important. So we have 3 layers to guarantee the quality of the data. First, we say we take the data from different sources. So we are able to gather the data from several sources and to cherry pick the best data according to the requirement of the portfolio manager. It's the portfolio manager who knows exactly what data he want to use to take his decision. So we put those rules in our tool so that it will really have the view of the data they want to have. Second, as Kim said also, we can just check the quality of the data at the time we integrate it, and we can just put a warning if we think that the data do not have equal quality, so that the end user will be aware of the quality of the data, of the spread of the data according to different sources, and he can take decision using this information. And last but not least, we have the audit trail we just showed you before. And this audit trail gives a full transparency of the origin of the data or the computations that have been performed to produce the end information, so that the user can really confident in what he really sees in the application and can take his decision with great confidence. Okay, I think we don't have any other question. So I'll just, as a summary, I will just say that we are very pleased to that CACEIS have selected us for the Connect Store, and this is a great challenge for us to provide service to CACEIS customers. And we just believe that our solution is really good complementary to the back office and middle office solution of CACEIS. And this is a perfect fit for the customers that do not need a PMS, in fact, because when you have the middle, back on the middle, all you need is a tool specialized on front office. And third, we think that if for customers who already have a PMS, we think that we are able to bridge the gap for all the specific requirements of the front office, just to provide the excellence required by the front office for the portfolio managers, so that they can just focus on their daily job, which is taking great investment decisions. Thank you, everyone, and for your attention.